breaking news. The Israeli military is warning all 1.1 million civilians in Gaza City to evacuate ahead of a possible ground invasion. New video shows Palestinians fleeing south as Hamas urges them all to stay inside their homes. The UN says the evacuation order is impossible without causing devastating humanitarian consequences. UN experts warn people in Gaza are at risk of starvation under Israel's constant airstrikes and the cutoff of electricity and supplies. The Palestine Red Crescent Society says there are no safe areas to evacuate, and it can't transport the sick and wounded in hospitals. Hamas says airstrikes have killed 13 of its hostages, including foreigners. Israel says Hamas is hiding underground and using civilians as human shields. Israel has amassed more than 300,000 reservists along its southern border with Gaza, but hasn't confirmed whether it's planning for an intensified military operation. Experts say a ground offensive would likely bring even higher casualties on both sides, on top of the more than 3,000 deaths already reported. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is set to hold a news conference with Israeli officials at any moment now. Here's a live look from the press room in Tel Aviv. Austin arrived overnight and is set to see firsthand the weapons and security assistance the U.S. rapidly delivered.
Austin is the second high-level U.S. official to visit Israel in 2 days. Earlier this morning, Secretary of State Antony Blinken followed up his Thursday visit with Israeli leaders by meeting with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. That was in Jordan. Abbas is the president of the Palestinian Authority, which has minimal governing powers since it lost elections to Hamas in 2007. Blinken is vowing U.S. support for Israel and condemning the Hamas attacks.
What we've seen, I think, will be very hard to erase from our minds and certainly our hearts. But I sense a fierce determination in Israel to prevail, and prevail Israel will.
The U.S. could start evacuating Americans from Israel as soon as today. The White House says it is arranging for at least 4 charter flights a day out of Israel through Frankfurt, Germany. The United States also says at least 27 Americans have died so far in the war. People on separate sides of the issue confronted each other during an emotional rally in downtown Indianapolis.
News 8's Hernan Gutierrez is live on Monument Circle. And Hernan, it started as pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Good morning.
That's right. 4 activist groups organized the rally in support of the Free Palestine movement. In a poster for the event, it called on Congress to stop all U.S. aid to Israel. Then counter-protesters showed up protesting the Hamas attacks last Saturday. One pro-Palestinian organizer says the situation is tragic, but also condemns the Israeli government's occupation of Gaza and the West Bank.
There is no international law that allows for the killing of civilians, and we mourn every single civilian life that's lost, Israeli, Palestinian. That is what we want to put an end to. That is what has to stop today.
One pro-Israel protester has family and friends in the country. He says he wishes more pro-Palestinian voices would condemn Hamas.
A lot of us have barely slept. We cannot believe the atrocities that were committed. We're afraid for our families. You know, when I've talked to my uncle, I can sense the tension in his voice, and it's heartbreaking.
IMPD did arrest one person last night at the protests. IMPD says Ahmad Agola was arrested for battery charges. They did not say which group he was connected with. In downtown, I'm Hernan Gutierrez for WishTV, WishTV.com, and like us on Facebook.
Hernan, thank you. The International Red Cross is looking for donations to help the victims in Israel and Gaza. If you would like to give, scan that QR code on your screen, and it will take you to WishTV.com. Our story on the war includes a link to donate.